Tool 4 is the Gradebook Analysis Worksheet. This worksheet will help you decide whether you need to implement a plan to improve one or more areas of concern with your class, small group of students, or individuals. It's similar to Tool 3 in that you're analyzing if 3 or more students are failing to meet a goal. Do I need to consider small group or whole group planning to address that? This tool allows us to study things like absenteeism, tardiness, work completion, assignment failure, and how those behaviors or academic behaviors impact learning. And it's important to consider how are these variables interacting, the academics and behavior. How are they interacting? So around the 3rd month of school, or early to mid-March, or just prior to the end of each grading period, you may want to gather some data and analyze it and look to see, do I need to make some adjustments in my instruction, the curriculum, or the environment to improve learning in my classroom? And this is a great way to look at those factors prior to looking at the actual learner. So here's the worksheet, which allows you to sort of gather that information in one place to begin to assess what are the needs moving forward. Tool 5 is the on-task behavior observation sheet. This sheet is going to help you decide whether you need to reteach your expectations for independent work periods and help you identify possible causes of poor work completion rates and misbehavior during independent work times. This observation could take place by you or by a colleague. Having a colleague do the observation could have several advantages, such as leaving you available to focus and act normally. The objectivity of the colleague may be beneficial, and certainly the collaboration of analyzing the results is helpful when you have a colleague. This tool is a systematic way of observing students by using time sampling. You're not recording which students are working, you're just recording that the students are working. For example, you set a timer to go off every minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever you think is appropriate for your activity. And when that timer goes off, you look up and you simply count the students that are on task and the students that are off, and make any notes that you see about what students are doing and how they're engaging in the task. And basically you're going to come back at the end of that and analyze the data to see if in fact 80% of the students are on task for most of the time samples. And if they are or they aren't, you can discuss that with your colleague and determine a course of action moving forward. Tool 6 is the Opportunities to Respond observation sheet. This tool will allow you to assess the active engagements of the students. Are they engaged in your lesson? How frequent do they have a chance to respond during instruction? There's lots of great research around student engagement, and it's sort of logical that if students are actively engaged in the curriculum and content, that the problem behavior and the misbehaviors are going to be less frequent. So it is suggested that during your 4th month of school, or mid to late March, that you take the opportunity to assess how your students are responding to instruction. First thing you want to do is you want to identify the teacher-directed lessons that you want to observe, set up some procedures for that observation. This may be one where you want to video or have a colleague observe, because there's a lot to think about during this observation. You're focusing on 3 to 4 students, and you're determining the average number of responses per minute. The sheet gives pretty clear directions on how to do that. You're basically taking the total number of responses and dividing it by 4, which gives you the average number of responses. And then you're thinking about the average responses per minute, and then some notes on the perception of how the student was engaged in the lesson. And research says that learning is maximized when students are responding 4 to 6 times per minute with 80% accuracy in elementary school. There's not quite as much data on middle school and high school responding to instruction. However, like we've stated, engaging students in instruction is pretty significant in terms of learning and improved behavior. If you find that after you analyze the data you want to create more opportunities for students to respond, you can certainly think and research ideas regarding responding. Some examples include choral responses, physical responses, written responses, copying notes, quick assessments, turn-in talks for students. There's lots of ways to ensure engagement. So hopefully this tool will allow you to assess how actively engaged your students are in your instruction. Tool 7, the Family Student Satisfaction Survey. This is much like customer satisfaction, and this is a short survey to discover how families and students feel about your classroom and learning. It also will help you determine the best way to communicate or share information with families. Middle and high school teachers typically collaborate as they don't want too many surveys going home to families, but once the survey is completed, hopefully the data can be analyzed and adjustments can be made. And hopefully those adjustments will lead to improved classroom behavior. And here's just an example of a satisfaction survey. You can see there are some quick questions about homework, assessment in the classwork, really getting some information around how the students are feeling about the work, the assignments, the classroom, the atmosphere, and that can really give you a lot of good information about what tweaks might need to be made to address the needs of students and families in your classroom. These presentation videos have provided minimal familiarity with the 7 tools described in CHAMPS by Randy Sprick. Please plan on carefully reviewing specific instruction either provided in this video or within the CHAMPS book if you have access to one, whenever you actually go to use a tool. Using the suggested observation schedule that you see here, you will be able to use a variety of methods to collect data at different times of the year. Hopefully this will help you assess the health of your core behavior plan and make changes and tweaks as needed. You are finished with session 6, and this course is set up in a way that some of you may be proceeding through all sessions in a linear fashion, and others of you may be taking different sessions based on your needs. At this point, at the end of session 6, we encourage you to go to the activity for session 6 and choose an observation tool that you would like to use from the corresponding resources that we've discussed in these videos. Use that tool, conduct an observation, and within the next week, fill out the corresponding form. Once you are done with that assignment for session 6, upload it to be finished. Thank you so much for participating in session 6. I hope it's been helpful to you. And please feel free to let your behavior coaches and intervention services answer any questions that you may have about these tools.